Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live website reviews show. We do this every Saturday and Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. UK time. Right, so I'm excited again to host this show. Today I have about 7 websites that I'll be reviewing, so can't wait to get started. So those of you who are just joining us, I'd like to say thank you very much for doing so. I really appreciate it. If you can ask your questions in the comments box or even comment as I do these reviews, that would be great. The whole point of this show is for you to ask questions based on obviously what I'm talking about on these reviews. So that could help you also design your websites with these tips that I'll be giving out throughout this show. Right. Before we begin, today's episode is made possible by divicake.com. Check out the huge selection of Divi themes, layouts, and plugins. The link to that is in the description below. Excellent. So I can see here we have Martin, Agante, Alexander, Wayne. Awesome. Nice. Good to see you. Good to see you all. Right. Okay. So the first website today I'll be taking a look at was submitted by Christine. And also, by the way, if you'd like your website to be reviewed, please do follow the link in the description below. It's the first link or the second link, which says submit your website for review. So as soon as you submit it, I'll add it to the list of websites that I'll be reviewing. So if your website hasn't been reviewed yet, please be patient. We'll get to it because I'm doing it in the order of how they were submitted. So today we're taking a look at a website which was reviewed by Christine. So I'm just going to switch over here so we can all see this website. Oh, Monique has just joined us. Good to see you. Okay, so over here, this is the website we're going to take a look at. It's which was submitted by Christine. Okay, so first of all, just by looking at this, this main area here is great, but it can be improved. Now, the one thing that you want to really avoid is to cut people's eyes and most of their face in your images. So as you can see with this image right here, this is not really working because it looks like we are focusing here on the teeth and not really the people. And also, this is a learning management service, so it's all about training. It's all about that. So you don't really want to cut people's faces and not show most of the face. So this is the one thing that you want to make sure that you avoid at all times. So show more of the image, show more of what is happening in the background to give context to your value proposition here. Now, again, talking about the value proposition, if we take a look here, it says Quartz. I think this is the name of the company. Online courses, learning management services, your starting point for learning. You see, it doesn't really say much as to what is the benefit. When you craft your value proposition, make sure that it's a benefit, something that benefits the visitor to your website or something that benefits the user or advantages of whatever service that is you are providing. For example, let's say I'm promoting a course, maybe a web design course. I would say learn how to design websites in 3 days guaranteed, for example. So you see now that's a benefit. So if you sign up onto this, you learn how to design a website in 3 days guaranteed. Or learn how to drive, maybe it's a driving school. Learn how to drive in less than 10 lessons or your money back. Click here to sign up for whatever it is that you need to sign up for. So it's very important that when you create your value proposition, you really craft the benefit and also a very good call to action. Okay, so enough about that. Right, so over here we can see create an account. I'm not sure why we'd like to go ahead straight away and create an account. But I guess maybe this is, I would need to look more into detail and see what this website does. Okay, When I take a look here at the bottom, I see that there are courses here that are listed. I think this looks nice. I also like the fact that you can add this to wish list, which is great. And the price is nice and visible there. It's great. And the fonts also are consistent. And on the bottom here again, the same mistake that we did on the top, it's cutting off, the face. And that's exactly what is happening here as well. In fact, it looks like it's the same image. So I would use different images here. The footer is fine. Okay, so let's move on to other pages. So if I come over here to the sign up page, let's have a look. Okay, so we're still using the same image here. I would do with changing this image because it looks like we have a lack of images to use on our website. So I would use different images for these pages. And as you can see, this website does not have a lot of pages on it. So I think investing in a few images that we could use for our page headings will be a great idea here. Okay, so, the login form is fine. Okay, so there's more pages here. Okay, so let's see, about us. Right, so it looks like that link doesn't go anywhere. Okay, who we are. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's the same image that's being used. And over here, this is one fundamental mistake. When you use images, you can see here that the balance is, we've just lost the balance of of this page by not having same size images. We want to make sure that we have same size images here. So go into a program like Photoshop, resize the images, and then use those images after they're resized and cropped. So this way, it's not really, it doesn't really look balanced that way. The second thing here is this text is spanning a very long width. This is way too much. So you really want to make sure you divide this text maybe into 2 columns, because this is way too much text. If you're trying to read this, imagine how your eye has to follow this all the way to the end there and then continue back here. It's just way too much strain for the eyes. So that is why it's advisable to make your width much smaller so that it's easier on the eye when it comes to reading your text. So definitely you want to minimize the width of this text area. And also the width of this page, actually, I would say it needs to be narrower. In fact, let me give you an example. So over here, I've got a basic page because I noticed that this is a bit of a trend, where you're using, most people are using like either a width which is way too wide or a width which is way too narrow. So let me just show you here on my demo site. So if we take a look at this, we can see that the width here is not too bad in terms of the content on the page. So ideally, this is what you want to use. So if we go into this section here, let's just double check and see what size I'm using. Okay, so if we say use custom width, okay, it's about 1080. So this is what you're seeing right now, 1080. So, if you want, you can increase this a little bit, maybe to 1220. That's still okay, but you get the idea. It doesn't need to be way too much because it becomes very, very difficult to read. Okay, right. I'm just going to take a look here quickly if there's any comments. Okay, so there are no comments so far. I'm just going to check here on YouTube. Oh, Martin says the pattern on your jacket is causing lines to confuse my vision. Right, okay. I can remove the jacket if that helps. So just bear with me. Okay, I hope that's better. Right. Okay, so let's carry on. So this page here that we're looking at, the About Us page, I think more work could be done here by adding more information, perhaps even maybe a video or a bit more context to, what your company does. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So let's try partner with us and let's see if there's convincing enough information here to partner. Okay, yeah, that seems okay. So I think there's enough information there, which is great. And one thing I notice here is your page titles are different. So here, the font that you're using is not the same as the font you're using here. Okay, so what you want to make sure is you use the same sort of like fonts throughout your website to obviously have consistency. Over here, I would increase a bit of padding just to give this enough breathing space. Okay, so let's try and look for more pages, tips and tricks, templates. Sign up to access. So I would even put more information here why I need to sign up and access those templates, because it looks like there's just a button. So I would put more information on this page. Okay, my courses. So that's the members area. So let's see what error page I get. So again, here you've left this page, this information here blank. It's advisable that when you build your website and it's live where everyone else can see it, that it has all the content, because when you have pages with blank information, it doesn't give a great impression. So you want to make sure that all these pages here have the right links, you don't have any broken links, and also the content on that page is complete. Because right now, by coming to this page, it just gives me an impression that this website is not even complete. So make sure all that information is set. And also this need support, send us a message. I think it doesn't have to be on every single page. This could be specifically on the support page, which people can always find when they click on the link here on the top, because I feel like you're just adding all this information here to just fill space because there isn't enough copy to add onto your page. Okay, so let's take a look here. My account. Okay, wish list. So again, this page is blank. Okay, let's try something different. Terms and conditions. Okay, again, we have the same problem that I mentioned earlier on, whereas this text is spanning a very wide width. So I would go in and adjust that, maybe even make the width about 70%. That should help this. But overall, I would say the use of text is not too bad. The size is okay. And also the color that you're using here is not bad as well. So what you've done here on the top on the terms and conditions by changing this image, it has just given this website a bit more life, because I was just getting used to seeing this same image throughout the whole website. So this is what you want to do throughout all your pages, and make sure you have a different image there that works for that particular page. Okay, so I'm just going to take a look at a few more pages here and move on to the next one. So news, blog. Again, I think you've suffocated content here. It looks way too busy. And again, the width of this page is the right width, but you want to add a bit more padding so that your information is well separated throughout the page. So everything is just way too close together here. Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick look. Oh my days. I've been speaking while I wasn't showing my screen, so I'll just go back to my screen. Sorry about that. Okay, this is the page I was talking about, this blog page. Everything is just way too close together, like a jigsaw puzzle. This needs to be separated by using padding, because this is just this makes it look way too busy. Okay, so I would go in and fix that. But other than that, the content is it looks like you have quite a lot of content here to go with your page. Okay, so it looks like this is a different website altogether, because this is not the navigation that I saw earlier on. Okay, so it looks like we're back here. All right, so I would say overall, it's a great attempt, but a few things can be done here to make this website even better. So I would work on those images and make sure that here on this main image, we use images where we can see full details of what is happening in that image rather than cut the eyes or cut most of the face of the people here. And even in this case here, this image here is just way too zoomed in. I would show most of what this area is about. I mean, what this website is about. Okay, so that's all I have to say for this video. I'm going to take a quick look here and see if we have any comments. Okay. And if you can do me a favor and please share this stream so that more people can watch this live stream, I'll really, really appreciate that. And also, if you haven't clicked on the bell notification, please go ahead and do so, because by doing so, you'll be notified every time I go live. All right, so moving on, I'm going to go on now to the next website, and the next website here is, in fact, the name wasn't submitted for this website, so I'll just take a quick look here. Right, so when I first land on this website, to be honest, I think it looks really nice. The colors here is great. And then when I scroll down here, I think this is nice. I like the font, the fact that you've used a specific font on the website rather than use the Divi font. I mean, the Divi default font. This is great. I like the way the products here are showing. It's nice. It's clean. The photography here is great as well. So I'm really, really like what is happening here. This is great, because when you take images of products, the products needs to be taken in such a way that there isn't a lot of distractions around the product, and the focus is on the main product. So this is great, great photography here. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, I think the layout of this main page is great. I like, again, here the imagery and the slider. The only thing I would do here is the space between these two items here is a bit too much in the middle here. And I'm beginning now to, no, in fact, it's fine. Yeah, so I would fix this gap by just reducing the gutter width on this row. Yeah, and again, these products, they look beautiful. Yeah, great images. Really like this. Okay, and the footer is fine as well. So let's move on to, let's say, one of the products here, and let's see what it looks like. Oh, in fact, if you click this, it zooms out. So this is, again, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so let's move on to the inside pages. Again, this is well laid out. It's beautiful. I like the simplicity of this page. It just focuses on the actual product. This is great. Okay, let's try a different page. Nice, nice. I like also the use of white space here. You know, it just makes this website look really, really classy. So I really, really like this. Beautiful. Now I'm just going to go back to the main page here and okay, in fact, it says it. So I was going to take a look at the value proposition here. So it says handcrafted leather goods since 1969. So that's great. So I guess these are call to actions. Ooh, right. So here, I think I've mentioned this before. The width of this page here is just way too much. I would reduce this to about 70% so that everything, you know, is just nicely laid out, because right now it's just way too wide and it's just way too much. That is way, way, way too much. So that's what I would fix on this page. Okay, so, okay, great. Let me see the other call to action. Okay, so again here, the gap here is way too much. I would reduce that. And the gain is happening here. Great. And I also like the way you've used these logos here. That is great. But what I've noticed here on this page is there's no footer. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a trend throughout this whole website, but you want to make sure that all your pages have footers so that you have consistency throughout, your websites. So it looks like this is a well put together e-commerce website. So I can see here, these are all the products. And if I click on any of these, it has more information about the product itself. So that is great. I really, really like that. So what you may also want to do here is, if you use custom post types, you can actually go in here and add even more information and more modules here just to give a bit more information about the actual products. But other than that, this looks great. So I'm going to come over here now and take a look at some of these other links and see if there's anything I can pick out. So, okay, so these are belts. Now, there's something that I've noticed here. This line, I don't think this line is necessary, to be honest. But I guess, it's something that you may, prefer, so that's fine. And one thing I'll also may want to add here, again, this is your choice, but having these products in a very light border, that's something that I would add here to separate these products. I think that would make these products look even much, much better. So just add a border around these products, a very light border. I think that would work great for these product pages. Okay, so I'm just going to choose more pages here. Okay, same thing. The photography here is amazing. It's great. But what I've noticed here as well is the footer is not consistent. Sometimes you don't have the footer and sometimes we have the footer. So I'm not sure what is going on there. So I would go in and fix that problem, to be honest. Right. Great. That looks really, really nice. Great. So it looks like these are just categories of the products. Right. So I'm sure you can see this. When I mouse over this product here, that light border is what I'm talking about. So if you could have these slight borders here on these products, I think this will really make this look even much, much better. Okay, so now I'm just going to go over here the top links, because it looks like all the links on the bottom here are products. And again, this is beautiful. I like the way this is laid out. It's fantastic. And again, I think I've mentioned this before. This is where you want to fix the gap between those two modules. Okay, contact page. I guess this is the last page I'll take a look at. And again, the width of this is way too much. So what I would do in this case, I would separate this into 2/3, 1/3, and then have this address here over here on the right and have the form over here on the left. And this could also help if you would add a map to the bottom here close to the footer. And again, we're missing a footer here. So we have the footer. In fact, definitely I've seen it. So if I come to this homepage, here is our footer. So it is missing on the other pages. So I would make sure that I will have footers throughout my website for consistency. And also those pages that have a width which is way too wide, I would go in and fix that, because the text or the forms on those pages are just way too wide. But the one thing I would like to say you've done a great job here is the use of colors, the fonts, and also the photography. The photography is amazing. In fact, if I were to come to this website, I would definitely buy one of your products just based on how they're well put together and the way the products are really, really, showing here. So this is great work. So yeah, well done. Right, so I'm just going to take a quick look here and see if we have any comments or questions. Ratapula, thank you very much for sharing on Twitter and Facebook. Appreciate it. Okay, right, so Let's move on to the next one. Right, so our next website is called Big Star Systems. So this is the website. So first of all, when I land on this website, I think the color, the choice of color here is too much. It's, the yellow, especially the yellow, it's just too much in my face. So I would actually choose much subtler colors there, because this is just way too much. And also, it doesn't make, it's not apparent what this website is about. It just says Big Star Systems, technical services. What sort of technical services, and why would I want to learn more? And also the spelling here for learn is wrong. So I would keep an eye on the spellings, because again, this can scream that this website is not, professional. Okay, so I would really take care of that. I know it's a minor mistake, even I do it, but as soon as you point these things out, they need to be fixed straight away. Okay, so over here on the top, let's try again, go through the navigation here. So I'm going to go to the About page now. And again, this is just way too much. The use of color here, in my opinion, is not working. I don't see the logo here as well. And this is just way too wide. This width is just way too much. So it just makes it very, very difficult to read. So I would reduce the width of this text. In fact, I'll just do a quick demo here and just show you how this would look even better if the width was right. So I'm just going to come over here and add a new section. Right, so this is going to be a text module. So if I were to add my text in here, you can see that this is, it's much easier to read. Even this is a bit too much, to be honest. So I would reduce this text right here. But this is much easier to read, as you can see, compared to what we have here. Okay, so make sure that you choose the right width for your pages. And also, this font here is a bit too small. So I would actually use a slightly bigger font here to just make this easier to read. And then over here, you've got drop shadows. It even makes it harder to read the text here with the drop shadows. So I would get rid of the drop shadows here. And also these borders and drop shadows, again, I don't think they're necessary. All you have to do is to align your icons and your blurbs closer together and get rid of these drop shadows. Okay, and then over here again, the width is just way too much. Your titling here of, your section titles, again, I would center them, because right now there's it's detached from all the content that you have here. And also, I would say get rid of all the drop shadows that you're using on this website, because they're not really bringing any sort of like design benefit to this page. Okay, and also here your image, make sure you use a slightly bigger image, which is high res, so that really stands out. And because the way you've set it up here, I would maybe even center it, or have the image on the left and the text on the right. So that's what I would do on this About page. So I'm going to go now to the services page. And again, I think we have the same issue. Now you've changed the icons completely as compared to before. So this orange here is just way too much. The way you're using it is just way, 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 way too much. And again, the images that you've used here, they are all stretched. They're not high-res images. So that's something that I would go in and fix right away. And again, sometimes we have the drop shadow, sometimes we don't. So there's a lot of inconsistencies here that you need to address to make this page or to make this website, even more professional. And I can see here just by looking at this website that your color palettes, you're not doing a great use of your color palette. So I would go in and choose colors throughout this whole website that make this design look even much better. And again, over here, you're using a lot of drop shadows and there's a lot of color. So I would minimize the use of this bright color here and just use maybe a slight gray because this is just way too much. Okay, so pretty much that's all I have to say about this website. Just make sure that you choose a good value proposition here, add your logo here to your navigation, and also avoid using these bright colors. Okay? Right, so let's take a look here at the comments. Okay, right. Okay, so let's move on to our next website, and our next website was submitted by Jose. Virtual to Management. Yes, so Virtual to Management is our next website here. Now, before I continue, I'd like to say if you're new to this live stream, I have a free course that I'm giving away. It's called WordPress Mastery. The link is in the description below. Go ahead and sign up for that course. It's absolutely free. And also, if you want to take your design skills to the next level, I have a course called Divi Blueprint 3. This course pretty much has everything that you need in order for you to create professional, beautifully looking website. So again, there's a discount in that. It's a 50% discount, and the link to that is in the description below. And also Photoshop for web designers. This is a course which is crafted for web designers. I'll teach you quite a lot of things that you need to know about how to prepare your photos for your website. So this includes cropping, optimizing the image size, and even doing a bit of color correction. So this is a very, very good course for web designers. So I've specifically chosen everything that you need to know in Photoshop for web design. Okay, and again, the link to that is in the description below. Right, so let's move on to our next website here. And this website, as I mentioned, was submitted by Jose. Right, so this is Virtual Bilingual Business Management. Okay, right. So this is great. We have a video here instead. So if anyone wants to know what this website is about, they will just click this video and this should tell them what this company is about. Now, the only thing that I would do here is with this image, I would get rid of the logo itself from this thumbnail. Okay, and just have maybe just the lady, right? Because we have the logo here on the top. So it's kind of like repeating the same sort of thing over here. Okay, and let's move on now and see, right, why you need us. Okay, yeah, that's okay. I would not use drop shadows for this, to be honest. I mean, it's a video, so I would actually not use a drop shadow for even the button here. I'll just make the button stand out. And also, if this is the main sort of like hero area, I would rather have a color here than have the color here on the bottom, because this is now standing out more than what we have here on the top. Okay, so let me just show you quickly here on my page. So if I take a look at this page, you can see what I've done here. The focus now is on the top here because that is where the color is rather than the bottom here. Okay, so that's what I would do to your page here on the top. But other than that, your value proposition is fine. I like the use of video here. I think that's great. Now, moving on. Over here, this color here you're using doesn't really work because it's closer to, in contrast with the background. So I would just use white maybe for that, just to keep this, just to make it easier to read. The image is okay, but I can see that the image here is pixelated. So make sure you use high-res images for your websites, because this just takes away the professionalism of this page or this website. Okay, now moving on. Over here, you need to make sure that you have padding around this box. And also, I don't think there's a need to add this text here in a box, because you're not really highlighting the text in this box. It looks like you just put the text in the box and that's it. And also the use of drop shadows, I don't think they're necessary here. I would not use the drop shadows as well at all. And this image here of this lady, I think this would even be better if it was closer, if the lady was closer to the text here, because you've now created a lot of white space over here. Okay, so moving on, you've used the same image here. I would use a different image because it looks like you're running out of images to use on your website. Okay, I've also spoken about this. Now over here, this, okay, the testimonial is fine. Okay, I'll say the testimonial area is fine. Right, now these logos, I mean, why are they there? I would actually add some context to these logos. What are they? Are they like governing bodies? I mean, what do they represent? And also, you've added these to a background which has a lot of patterns. And again, it just makes it too heavy and too difficult to read. So just make sure that this background here is either a solid color, just like what you have here on the footer, and then have these icons on the top. I think that would work much better. Or even reduce the brightness of this image and just make it really dark. So that would work here. And moving on, again, this lady here is way too far from the content here. I'll bring her closer so that it just adds context to that information. Great. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. But before I do that, in fact, I'm going to take a quick look here and see if we have any questions. Monique says, could the video be moved a little more to the left? Yes, I would agree with you, because you see, when it comes to the homepage that you're referring to here, it's the small changes that make a big difference. So those minor tweaks are very, very important when you design your page. So I would agree with you there, Monique. I mean, I don't think you're being picky, because as you can see in my reviews, I am actually going into a lot of detail, which I think most people would think, well, that's a bit too much, but it's those small things that make a great change when you design your website. Okay. Right, so I'm on the next page here, the services page. Well, I like this graphic here because of the blending modes that are happening here, but I think it's just way too much image for this page. I think people would want to see more of the content rather than just have a massive image here for our services. In fact, I would have maybe half of this image dedicated to the top part of this page. But otherwise, the image here looks, the technique you've used here looks great. Okay, moving on. Again, this keyboard, I think, is overused now. I would actually get rid of this image completely. And even if I were to have a solid color back here, I would be happy with that, to be honest. Okay, now moving on. Accounting and bookkeeping. I don't think this image works for accounting and bookkeeping. I would maybe even have people in the office, behind the computer desk, maybe doing something that's close to maybe accounting. That would look much better for this. Right, so moving on here. Again, this image that we have here, I would actually make it really, really light so that my text here can really stand out. So this image is way too bright, because you can see here what you've had to do is to actually add a background to this text. So I would maybe even give this a gradient color just to make my text here really stand out. And also the use of color here, it's not working because it's way close to the background here, so it's not easy to read. It looks like it just looks way too busy now. Okay, and over here I've just noticed that this image is stretched, so you want to make sure that your image, before you add it onto your website, it is the right dimensions and it is not stretched. So take a look at this before you actually add your images to your website. Right, so moving on here, I would say if you're going to have your pricing tables, let them be consistent. Use the same color, use the same styles, because right now if I look at this and then come over here to the top, I have a different style here. It's not really working. And I can see straight away that you are not using a color palette, or if you are, you're not using it effectively. So I would go in and really take a look at that. Now over here, this lady here, I think you fixed the problem of bringing her closer to the text, but the problem is it looks like she's just cut off, right? So this is one thing you want to avoid. Make sure that the images here are not, don't appear like the person here has just been cut off on the bottom here. Okay, so I would fix that by maybe removing the padding totally on this image here. There's a way to do that in Divi. Okay, so moving on again, here the image is way too bright. I mean, I would reduce this image to make it much better. And on the bottom here, this is a no-no. All along, you've been using proper images of people, and then now you've introduced a cartoon. You know, I would not do this at all. I mean, it's just adding more complexity to your page. So make sure you have a consistent style. If you're going to be using these cartoons, make sure you use these throughout your whole website. But mixing them in the way you've done here, I don't think that works well. And again, here, I like the way you've done these icons. I think this is really, really nice. But the image in the background is not working. So I would maybe make this a bit dark, make the image a bit darker so that these elements here can really stand out. Okay. So the FAQ here is fine, but again, this background image is way too bright. Okay, and I've also spoken about this because it's a repeat from what we had before. So I'm going to take a look at a couple of more pages. So the About page, again, you're repeating the same image throughout. I would use a different image for that. And over here, again, I'm assuming this is yourself, but you know, you've cut yourself off here on the bottom as well. So I would try and fix that and not make it look like you're just cut off here. Okay. I like what you've done here on the right, the use of icons and the way you've laid everything out on this right. I think this is brilliant. And yes, I've spoken about the image and we've spoken about this already. So I would not use this throughout the page, to be honest, because again, you know, it's repeating throughout the whole website. It's just way too much. I would have this on a dedicated page on the navigation, and that should solve that problem. Okay, I would add more copy, more images, more case studies to fill in those spaces if we need to. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next page, which is the blog page. And over here, the image you have in the background here is way too busy, you know, because it doesn't really make this stand out. So I would use the same, and in fact, this is fine. I mean, the way you have your blogs here is fine, but I'll just change that image. Right, I'm going to go on the Contact Us page, and again, same image. I would change that, and this definitely is not working. Now, if you take a look at the image here, it's a beautiful image that we have here in the background, but the text here, you don't have any padding on this, so I would definitely, you know, not have this image at all because it looks like it's taken away from the main image, from the main message. And yeah, so I'll definitely change that. Okay, so finally, I'm going to take a quick look here at the 30-day trial and see where this takes us. And looks like the 30-day trial is not taking us anywhere. So I would go in and really remove that link if it's not going anywhere, or perhaps maybe add a link. It could be something that you might have forgotten. So I would go in and fix that. Okay, so and this logo here, finally, I think it's a bit too big. I would reduce the size of this logo. And overall, I think it's a good start, but you could do with choosing a color palette and then use those colors that are generated by Divi as you start using your colors from your color palette. But other than that, I think it's a great effort. Okay, so I'm going to take a look here and see if we have more questions or comments about this website. Yeah, so if you have something to say about the website, please do add your comments in the comments box, and I could read them, because it could be that I've missed something as I am doing these reviews. Right, okay, so let's move on to the next one. So this was submitted by Jose. Right, so our next website here was submitted by Tatiana. Right, so this is the website. So first of all, we don't have a navigation here on the top. That's a no-no, because people now are used to seeing a navigation here on the top, a logo, because that's just generally, how people have learned to navigate websites, for the past, 15, 20 years. So I would make sure that I add a navigation here, which shows the rest of the pages on our website. And here, background check of your job candidates. Okay, I think it gives you an idea of what this website does. But it requires me to read a lot. So that's the thing. It requires me to read a lot. But I would put a bit more context to this. Okay. And Ukraine, I don't know if this has anything to do. The background checks of the candidates in Ukraine, because that's where you've made your focus. I'm not sure why this is here. So just make sure that whatever you're communicating here is straight to the point and not confusing. Now, if I take a look here on the bottom, I see that things are not lined up correctly. Like this image here should have been lined up here with everything else on this page for the width. And this width here looks a bit too small. I would maybe increase this a little bit, maybe by 50 to 100 pixels. And these images here, in fact, before I talk about the images, this title, the page title here, with the capital letter W, and we've made it bold, what we are dealing with. I think you need to just have a normal title here for your section, to be honest, because what you've done here, I don't know. I don't think there's a need to add capital letters here. In fact, they're all caps anyway. So why highlight the W, D, A, W, W in this case? So I would not do that at all. And also, no, in fact, that's fine. And here are the certificates. I think that's okay. Now, with these certificates, I would actually have these certificates in their own sort of like row. And then these blurbs now could be maybe even more information. Give them a bit of breathing space so that it's all laid out correctly. Because what you've done here is, it looks like everything is all like just in one place. And it takes time for me to actually read what this is about. And you've also done the same thing here. You've highlighted the HEDC of every word. And just for consistency's sake, you've missed the V here. But that's not the point. I would not actually use these bold caps on the beginning of this description. And to be honest, caps just scream shouting. So I would just use normal text here. And also for this section, I would add a bit of padding just to give all this information a bit more breathing space. Okay, and also what you'll receive here, again, give this a bit of breathing space here on the top, and just use this as normal text. I like what you've done here on the contact form. I think that's great, because you've just changed the style of this. It doesn't look like your default Divi form. Okay, great. So it looks like this is just one page and there's no footer as well. I'm not sure if this is by design, but if it is, as I mentioned, it's very, very important to make sure you have the header and also the footer. It helps the visitors to your page navigate your page easily. All right, so that's my review on this page, and let's move on to the next one. Right, now before I do that, I'm just going to take a quick look here and see if there's any questions. Right, if you're just joining us, this is the live website review show, which I do every Wednesday and every Saturday at 6 a.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. if you're in the UK. Right, so basically I just go through some websites, give you some tips on those of you that have submitted your websites for review. And also, if you want to get your website reviewed, the link to that is in the description below the video. So go ahead and submit your website. Right. Okay. So let's move on and let's move on to the next website. And this website here was submitted by, I think it's Tedious. Sorry about that if I haven't pronounced it well. Okay. First of all, I can see some snowflakes. I'm not sure if this is a seasonal thing, but if it is, I like, the idea of this graphic here. I think that's a bit unique. That's pretty cool. Right. Okay. Now, if I take a look at these images, if you compare this to the website that I reviewed a few moments ago, which has like great imagery, we can see here that these images here are not high res. So I would go in and make sure these images are high res. Okay, they're slightly pixelated. So I would fix that first of all. And then over here, I can see that these are the main categories, I think. But what I would do here on this page, in fact, it's here, imprint your logo on any promotional product. Okay, now you see this message here. I would really highlight this message, maybe have this message here on the left, and then have my products on the right, and just make this really stand out, okay? Because I almost missed it because there's a lot of text here on this section. There's so much text going on, so this is sort of like blending in with the text. So I would really make this value proposition really stand out, and also add a call to action. Maybe it could be a discount or, whatever it is. Now, these borders here, I think they're way too thick. I would just go in with and use a border which is perhaps even maybe 1 pixel and quite light. And also I would reduce the space between these products because right now it's a bit too much. Okay, so to do that, you need to adjust your gutter width. So I would maybe use 2 on the gutter width. Okay, so moving on here. I can see these are the categories. And again, I would reduce the gutter width here and make these images slightly bigger because the focus is the product. So if you make the products really tiny, people aren't going to see what that product is about. So you really want to make them nice and big. Okay. So I'm going to click here on one of these categories. And yeah, I would say this is okay. Great. I can see there's a lot of information here. Now, what I would do here is to reduce, or in fact, maybe even get rid of all this text here on the right, okay? And have this image here nice and big, okay? Because that's the focus. I would rather see this image here nice and big. And then this text here that I've highlighted, okay? This would come maybe over here in the description, okay? So don't have the description here. Why not have it here in this area? Add a new tab and add your description in this area here, because right now all you have is just a review. So that's definitely what I would do. In fact, I would be even more extreme and get rid of this right sidebar because we want the focus to be the product. Okay. So that's the main focus. So that's what I would do on all these product pages. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and see, because I'm pretty sure that all these will follow the same sort of like trend. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so it's following the same trend. So that's what I would go in and fix. Event souvenirs, again, yeah, this page is okay. But again, like I said, I'll just probably make this page slightly wider because it's too narrow, and maybe even get rid of the sidebar, because I don't think the sidebar here is giving us, a lot of, a lot of information that we may need. So that's what I would do, and really, really focus on the product. That's the most important thing on an e-commerce website. So if you have eye-catching products, that is what is going to make people want to click on it and perhaps maybe even buy it. Okay. So all these pages are following the same trend. Okay, so I'm going to click here on request a quote. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that's your the get in touch page. Okay, that's fine. So that's definitely what I would do on this website. But overall, I think the layout in itself is great. I would really make sure that the images that I'm using here are high res, and make sure that your your message here is nice and clear, because as I mentioned, this is pretty much lost in the text that we have here on these products. Okay. And these categories, if you can just remove the borders, that should be fine. I'm just going to click on corporates. Okay, so pretty much it's the same trend here. So that's what I would do to fix this website. Okay, so moving on. So I think this is going to be now our last website of the day. Fernando, you're saying you should adjust grave sound level. I'm not sure what you mean by that. What's the grave sound level? Right, Chris is just joining us from France. Thank you very much for tuning in. Okay, so let's move on to... So I can see here, Becca also says it doesn't seem to be a logo on the company anywhere. People don't come back to it because they don't know who you are. That's actually true. On your websites, you want to have your logos, you want to have your navigation and as well. Rambo says here, I agree with adding a navigation to the top menu. Yes, so adding a navigation here is very, very important. Okay, thank you for your contribution. Appreciate it. Right, so I'm going to take a quick look here and see. Right, so this is the website, our final website that we are reviewing. I'm not sure what language this is, and I'm going to try and get the translation to come through. Okay, translate. Now, first of all, this page, just by looking at it, it looks very, very slick. You know, I like it. And I like the simplicity and the way things are laid out. In fact, you know, this shape that we have here on the top right, I think this is beautiful. You know, it just adds a design element to the page. And I think this is really, really nice. And then here, again, I like the value proposition. I think this is great. Okay, and even just these little things that are used on this page, like this line here, and the way it leads your eye to this little line, which makes you want to read, inspire your environment with massive idea. This is subtle, but this is great. Okay, so moving on. I like the way this is highlighted here. I think this is great. and web design, graphic design, image editing, and the graphic design is highlighted here. I think this is great. And these little lines here, they're actually leading us to want to read the next item. So for example, here, I want to read this. And these are testimonials, I think. And I like also the fact that the testimonials also have an image that goes with it. I think this is great. And these design elements here, okay, they are definitely working because they are following the same sort of like pattern. And this is repetition in design. And this is great because we have some patterns here on the top. And then if we come here, we see it again here. This is great. And this is looking very, very professional. I really like this. And the footer as well is nice. It's simple. It's clean. So, I'll give this page 10 out of 10. I think this is great. Even the logo. I mean, look at how simple this logo is. I think this is really, really, really nice. Right. So let's come over here to the About Me page. Okay. I really like this. So the top area here is saying, hey, I'm Benny, and this is talking about Benny himself. I think this is fantastic. And also the same sort of consistency. It's following throughout the whole page. And even this, if you look at this image here, the way it's done, this is creative. I'm sure this was done maybe perhaps in Photoshop or any image creation software. And again, we can see that this subtle shadow and again of this shape here is on the bottom, and we have these little shapes which are carried over from over here on this top section. So I think this is really, really, really nice. I'd really like this website. Okay, and then over here it's the software I think that he uses, and I like these little lines here. I know I keep talking about them, but they are making a great they're working as a great design element. Okay, and moving here, I really like the portfolio here. Great. So if you click on it, it shows you this. I think this is really nice. Great, great effort. Okay, services. And again, when I mostly talk about consistency, I mean, look at this shape here. It's used throughout the whole website. So as you can see, there is consistency. If you look at the page titles here, they are consistent. You look at the logos here, they are very, very consistent. The text size, again, of the body text, again, it's really, really consistent. So these are sort of like the design cues that you need to take a look at when you're designing your website. So this is a great example of the use of color, the use of shadows, the use of icons. I mean, these icons here are pretty much the same icons that we used on the main page. So I really like what is happening here. Even the animation is very subtle. It's not overboard. Great. And I like the visuals here. Now look at this. I mean, network partners, the way these are done as well. The fact that, when you mouse over it, it shows the color. Look at that. This is great. And again, it's very subtle, but these little things make a big, big difference in design. So I really, really like, how this has been put together. In fact, we've got 2 more pages now to take a look at. So credentials, look at that. This is fantastic. Really, really nicely put together. I really like this. In fact, I would say Benny is an experienced designer, because to really pull this off, even the way the color is used here, I think this is brilliant. The text here is easy to read because of the choice of contrast on these images, the background image. And also, if you take a look here, the logo now, because this is on a slightly darker background, he's reversed this to a white logo. So I think this is fantastic. If I go back here, you'll see what I mean. So see, over here it's red, but when you go to that page, it actually changes color because of the background that it is on. Okay, so let's take a look here at one more Jason Joseph. And again, look at that. The use of the image and the subtleness and the fact that you can read this because of how this image here in the background was created. I think this is fantastic. And over here, negative margins, the way this is put together, I think this is fantastic. Great work. Colors, the font. Right. In fact, you know what? I don't even need to go any further. This website is one of the best websites I've reviewed, to be honest. Let's take a look at this one. Again, fantastic. Nice use of colors here. Brilliant. I think this is really, really great. I really like the way this website is put together. And if you disagree with me, please add your comments in the comments box. But to be honest, this is one of those websites where if I had to give this a score, I would give this 100 out of 100. You know, this is just great, 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 great. Benny, you've done a very good job on designing this website, and I'm sure everyone watching would agree with me. But if you don't, I'd like to hear what you think or what you can say about this design. I can see Rumble here also says, I really love this last website. I'll also give it a 10 out of 10. No, I agree. Absolutely. Let's see what people are saying here on Facebook. Right. Oh, the website is in German. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Link to the website. Okay, I can add a link to this website. Right, I'm just going to add this link to the comments box here. There's the link to the website. Agante also says, great website. Chris also says, what is Benny's address? Okay, I've just added the address in the comments box. And Chris also says, I agree with you. Great. Okay, clean, great use of color. That's Monique saying clean, great use of color. Definitely, I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you know what? These are the sort of websites you want to take a look at for inspiration purposes, because when we talk about color theory, in most cases, it is tempting to use 5, 6, 7, 8 colors on the website. But to be honest, that's actually adding more complexity to your website. So if we take a look at Benny's website, you'll see a very, very subtle use of color, and whenever color is used creatively. So that's the one thing I really, really like here. Kalal says, nice, lots of white space, great. Agante also says, I can use this as a sample site for good web design. Chris says, which add-on do you use for your browser for translation? This is just the basic Google Translate. So when I refresh the page, I just saw a button which says translate, and then I just clicked on translate. So I think this is a feature which is in Chrome. So that's how I got it to translate. Okay, so it just makes me want to go through this page more and more. So back over here on the credentials, let's see. Let's take a look at this driving school of, I think it's Gunten. So this is a driving school. And again, look at that. Just the grill and the color that was used here, I think is great. Nice looking website. Okay, so this takes us to the website. And again, this is great. And we can see that, again, I know this is a website which Benny designed, but we can also see that the websites Benny is designing here use great use of layout, color. I like the way, like, the dashboard is here and then the actual car is on the front. And this is a driving school, fantastic, And look at that. This is beautiful. And the use of contrast. Over here on the back, we have the image of this lady. And then over here, we can see, the actual, high-res image of the lady. So I think this is fantastic. Great. Even the animation is very subtle. Now, look at this contact form. Now, when you take a look at this contact form, again, it's just using the opacity here just to make it closer to the background. And even if you take a look here at this contact, I think this is the logo. It's very subtle, but it is definitely working. Right. I think I'll take a look at a few more and then we can call it a day. Right. So let's take a look at this one here. Find ways. Nice. So even though this is a bright color, again, it works with the theme. Really nice. Now look at that divider, the way this divider looks. In fact, this is so tempting. I feel like going to the website to take a look at it. Right. I mean, the way this divider is used, I think that's great. And the content area, you can see here, the content area is not way too wide, as I was talking about initially with the few websites that I reviewed. Everything is, within a very reasonable width. The content is, and I think this is great. Okay, so the final page I'm going to take a look at here is the contact page. And again, I think this is great. You got your mobile, email, the location here, office hours, and then the form. And it's that simple. Okay, I think I've said enough about this website. Right, okay, so I'm just going to take a quick look here and see if we have more comments. Monique says, the website demonstrates how less is more. And how the little things make a big difference. Yes, I think this is a great example for this. So yeah, well done, Benny. Great job done there. Okay, so do you have any questions that you want me to respond to before we call this show to an end? If you do, please add your questions in the comments box below so I can go in and respond to them. Reto says, Rito, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Benny was trained as a web and media designer in Switzerland and shows the high quality of training locations in our country. Fantastic. That's great to know. That's great to know. I mean, you can tell that Benny has a design background, or he's definitely studied design because of the use of fonts, colors, space, and all of that. I mean, it's a great website. Monique says, how critical is logo? I'm not sure about that, but do you mean like how critical is a logo on a website? If that's Helly says, I've noticed how the scroll color also matches the pages. Nice. Yes. Those subtle things, I mean, they just bring, they just make me really excited. It's great design. Okay. Monique, how critical is logo? I'm not sure what you mean. Okay. In terms of a website, when you design your website, the logo is not the main focus. Okay. In fact, to be honest, people don't care about the logo. People care about what your website does and how that website can benefit them. The logo, they can care less. I mean, it's just there for branding purposes. So people remember that this is the company logo. But it's about how that website can really transform that person that's on that website, how it can, bring a change, if it's driving lessons, is this a company that can help me achieve my driver's license, and how? So those are the sort of questions that you need to answer. And these questions here, they need to be accompanied by great images, great graphics, and a great call to action. So I see quite a lot of people focusing on the logo. People don't care about the logo because it doesn't bring any benefit to anyone. It's only for branding purposes. That is why you'll find even like these big companies, the logo is nice and small just for branding purposes. It's a message now that is more important. In fact, let me see if I can show you some examples of companies' websites and see how they actually look. Right. Here's a great example. So right now I'm on the Nike website. Now, do you see how small that logo is? Very, very small. But the focus now is here. In fact, the last thing that you're going to look at here is the logo. Your main focus will be here on the image, which is exactly what they're trying to do. So they've done this in a very, very clever way by making the sides here dark. So the focus now is really on this football boot. Okay, so that is how it works. Okay, so let me choose another website again. So this time, let's try BMW. I'm just choosing these companies at random. Same thing. If we take a look here, it's the image that really draws you in. It's not the logo. The logo is up here, nice and small, but it's the images that are really striking. Okay, let's try, I don't know, Timberland. Okay, let's try this one here. Again, look at that. The logo is there in the top left, but it's the images that are the main focus. And then finally, let's see, which one can we take a look at here? Okay, let's go to BBC. Okay, if we take a look here on a BBC iPlayer, again, the logo is nice and small over there in the top. It's not even the center of attraction on this page, right? So even if we go to the main page, again, you can see that the logo is way too small over here on the top. So it is important that the logo does not take over the design. So great question there, Monique, and I hope I've answered that question. Decide hosting. Upload file type is not allowed. Decide hosting. I'm not sure if this is a question or an error that you're getting. And if I'm taking a quick guess here, I would say perhaps you're trying to use the latest feature, which was released yesterday, the drag and drop, and you are getting that error because you're trying to upload a file format that is not allowed. Is that correct? Decide hosting? Please let me know. And by the way, yesterday's feature, I found it very really cool because it just makes it easier for you to drag content onto your page as you're designing your website. So instead of clicking, and finding information on your website to drag on, it's just drag and drop, and the Divi builder actually decides. Knows what sort of content you are trying to drag into, your website. So it's really exciting. In fact, I could just do a quick demo here for you and just show you how that works. So over here, I have a page. So I'm just going to quickly drag an image. Right now, okay, in fact, I know what I can do. I can just do that and show you where I'm dragging this from. So this is my local machine. So I'm just going to drag an image here. Okay, let's go to the downloads folder. Right, so here on the downloads folder, in fact, I have something on my desktop because I think I used this yesterday. So here on my desktop, this is the folder. Right, so let's say I want to add an image here onto my website. So you click on the image and then you just drag it over here onto your builder. And as you can see, now it has been added. Okay, there we go. And then once it's added now, you can also do, all your adjustments, all your changes. So let's say you want to add a background color to this. First of all, I'm going to save. And then let's say I need to add a background color to that. I can just do that, add my background color. And now my cow really stands out. Okay. So you can see it's very, very easy. And there's a list of files that are compatible with this update. So all you have to do is to just drag and just drop it into your builder, and it recognizes it. So I was actually playing around with it yesterday, and the one thing that I was actually impressed by is, let's say I wanted to share this layout. So if I wanted to share this, I would export it and then send you the JSON file, right? So once I send you the JSON file and you want to pretty much have the same layout on your website, on your page, you would actually drag and drop that JSON file on in Divi, and it loads up this page with all the elements. So I think it's really cool. If you haven't watched my video that I created yesterday, I'll suggest you go and quickly take a look at it. I think it's really exciting. Okay. Rito says, can you try to upload a SVG file? Now, I don't have an SVG file, but I'm not sure if that file is permitted on this. I had a list somewhere. I'm not sure if SVG is one of the colors, to be honest. I mean, one of the file formats. So it doesn't upload all the files. Bear with me. Right. Here we go. Right. So SVG is not part of it. So if I can just quickly go through the list, it's the files that work with this new feature are CSS, HTML, GIF, JPEG, PNG, TXT or text, OTF, TTF, AVI, M4V, MOV, WMV, MP4, MP3, WAV, and JSON. So these are the files that are supported by this latest feature. So SVG does not work with this feature. Okay. So I guess maybe that's why Decide Hosting there is getting an error. Where can I find this list? I think there's a link. In fact, the link, I'll just quickly check here and see if it's on Elegant Themes blog page. I'll just double check quickly and see if we have it here. Right, it doesn't say. So I guess the list. Okay, so it doesn't really say. So what I would actually do is I would take a look at the error, and then the error actually shows you which files are permitted. Okay, so it's pretty much these. So these are the ones that are permitted. Okay. And also one exciting one is the fonts as well. if you add your TTF, that font will be added onto the Divi builder, so you can actually search for it later and use it. So I thought that was really, really cool. And the one thing, in fact, this was a question that was asked yesterday after I did the video, where people are asking, the question was the HTML doesn't work or the CSS doesn't work. So you need to make sure that when you save the file, it needs to be a text file or .html or .css, because that's how the builder is able to detect what sort of file it is. So if you add all your CSS onto your text document, but it's saved as a .txt, that wouldn't work, because that's something that I was struggling with as well when I was testing this. So that's what you would need to do. And one more quick thing here is when it comes to this drag and drop feature, let's say you want to drag several files. So all you do is, instead of doing it one by one, you can just select all the files. Maybe it's 4 images, it's text, it's a video, it's an audio file. You can just grab all those, drop them onto the builder, and the builder just adds all that content all together on that page. So I think this is really, really cool. And this could be used in situations where, let's say you're a web designer, you're designing websites for your clients, and they've sent you the content. You can just drag all that and just put it on the builder, and then you can just go in and then start, laying it out correctly. So I think this is really, really cool. Right. So while we're on this, I can see quite a lot of you now are tuning in. I hope you're not tired from listening to my voice, but I want to show you some really cool tricks when it comes to color and how you should use color in your designs. And before I do that, if you're just joining us, this is our live website review show, which I host every Wednesdays and Saturdays at 6 a.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. UK time. So this is where I get to give you some tips on tips and reviews on websites that were submitted. And also, if you want to submit your website, you can do so. There's a link in the video description below. Go ahead and do that, and I'll add it to the list of websites that need to be reviewed. Okay, so let me show you a few things that you can actually do. We have Mark here from France. Nice. Good to see you, Mark. Thank you for tuning in. Awesome. Right. So let me show you what you can actually do to have great, colors in your web design. Right. So what I'm going to do here is to switch over here to my website. I just want to show you, because I think this is very, very important actually. So I'm going to add a brand new section here, regular section. And then I'm just going to add some columns. So this one here could be a text column. A text module. And let's add a title to this. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this and make this a title. So let's make this heading 2. Okay, great. I'm going to save that. And then over here, I want to have a blurb. And we also need a button to go with this. So I'm just going to add my blank link in here. So once I do that, it's going to add my, my button. And then over here on image and icon, I definitely want to use an icon. So let me just choose any icon here. So just bear with me as I add this information, because I think for those of you that were watching my review, it is very important that you see how color is used. So as you can see, this is pretty much bland, okay? There isn't much color going on. So if you wanted to start adding color to this, what you want to do is decide where the color is going to go. So let's say I want to make this a dark section. So I would come over here and choose my color, right? So let's say I'm going to go with this color right here, okay? Save. Now we can see that my text here is not easy to read because we have a dark background. So how do we fix that? So to fix that, you want to come over here to your module settings, go into design. Let's start off with the title here. So I'm going to click here on the heading. So now we have the colors here. So if I click these three little dots, this is what you want to use most of the time, because this is how your colors are generated, and these are generated using an algorithm. So this actually helps you use the colors that work with this design. But the only thing that you need to be aware of is the contrast, okay? Using colors that are closer together makes it difficult to read, okay? And I'll show you in a minute what I mean by that. Right, so let me just go back to the website here. Right, so now here, okay, so now it's time to choose my color. So what I need to do now, because this is a dark background, my foreground color here needs to be slightly light. So I can go with this really light gray. That works. And I'm sure you can agree with me and say that this is easier now to read. And I could do the same here. Recent colors. Use that gray. So now this text is easier to read. Okay. But let's say I want to be a bit more creative, right? So I can go back over here, choose my title text. And then let me add a bit of color to this. So let's say I add this color. Again, this color actually works, right? And this, again, you can make this a bit more subtle by coming back over here and choosing maybe, let me do it one more time. So maybe choosing this version of gray, okay? So even that still is easier to read. Okay, so that is how you make things easier to read on your page. Right, so let me save this for now. Let me duplicate this and just show you how you create balance on your page. So now that we have this, let's say I need this page to be balanced. So what I would do is I would drag this over here to the left. Drag this text here to the right. So now we are balancing what we have here on the page, because we have an icon here on the right, an icon here on the left. But still, I would actually perhaps even have the things that have the icons on their own, like maybe perhaps like this. I'm going to delete that. And then over here, I will just have a single column. Now, if you recall, I also spoke about the text spanning, all the way here, which makes it difficult to read on your width. Now, the quickest way to fix this is by going into your settings, design, sizing, and then here we have the width. So if I start reducing the width here, you can now start to see that my width becomes smaller, and I can now center it, okay? So now my width is there, and now everything is centered. And because this is centered, it also makes sense that this title here and the text is also centered. So let's go ahead and do that. So if I come over here to the text, let's look for orientation, centered. So now I've centered it, and as you can see, it's much, much easier to read. Save that. Now let's work with this and also add a bit of color to this. So if I go in here, let's go to image and icon. In fact, our icon is fine. I'm going to come over here to design, and now let's add a bit of color to that. So this could actually work. So as you can see, the colors here that are generated by my color palette are actually great to add onto my site, and they actually work. So you could go with that. It's a bit too bright, but it depends on your design. So you can go with something a bit subtle. But all these colors here, you can actually use these creatively in your design, as you can see. Okay, let's try this one. Okay. So what you can do now is you can also add a circle. So if you're going to be adding a circle, make sure that the circle that you're adding and the colors that you're using are also from the color palette. So let's say I go with a dark gray. So it's all about, trying these colors out and seeing which ones work. So my grays are here. So in fact, I would pretty much go with that. And then the circle icon here, maybe choose something like that. And as you can see, these colors actually work. Now, let's say I want to even go further and customize this text. I can always come here into my title text and again, add my color. And also add my color to this. And then center it. Right, I'm not sure why this is not centering, but perhaps I could, okay, there we go. So that's how we center it, okay? And this blurb now, let's say you want to add a border around it. So you can actually do that by coming over here and adding your border width. So now we have 1 pixel border. Now there's a, if you recall, there's a website, I can't remember which website it is, that I mentioned that you need to add some padding to the content inside the rectangle, because right now if you take a look at this this design here, it doesn't really look nice, okay, because there isn't enough breathing space around the content. So what you want to do is to go to your padding. So I'm going to come over here to spacing. So with our padding, let's say 20 and see how that looks. Okay, and then we're going to do the same here, add 20. Okay, so that's looking better. In fact, I would even go ahead and add maybe even 40. Great. So you can see here by just adding my padding, this has actually transformed this, this design. And I know it's very subtle, but you can see that already looks much better. Okay. And maybe you want to increase the border there because it's not really visible. Okay, so let's do that. So instead of having 1 pixel, let's add 2. Okay, so there we go. 2 pixels. And if you want it to be even more stylish, you can also add some rounded corners, but I'll just leave it as it is. So these are the small things that you can actually do to make your design look even much, much better. And as I mentioned, these are very subtle things that I'm doing here, and it's mainly about contrast. Every time you use a dark image, make sure your text is easy to read, and every time you use a light background, make sure you don't use colors like yellows on a white background because it's very difficult to read. And these are the sort of things that I'm seeing with some of these websites that I'm actually reviewing. Okay. Right, let's take a look here. Oh, Mark says the sound level is lowered by -3 dB. Yes, this is actually a problem that I'm aware of, but the issue is in the actual software. So what I've actually done now is I've invested quite a lot of money, to be honest, and time to learn how to use Wirecast. And this is the streaming software that I'll be using. I'm just setting up all the graphics just to make this show a bit more exciting. In fact, I'd like to add a lot of graphics onto the screen, some intros, just to make this a bit more professional. So I'm really working on that. So the next time you see me on the live stream, this problem should be gone. So I'm really, really sorry about that. Okay. Great. Right. Okay, so let me give you a few more examples about contrast, because of course I'm doing these reviews, but at the same time I need to give you solutions, because sometimes it may appear like my reviews or what I'm saying is a bit harsh without giving you solutions. So I've just taken this opportunity maybe to show you what I mean by contrast, how to use colors and how to use your images. Okay, because I think this is really, really important. So I just want to give you a few more examples here. So I'm sure, you know, you don't mind me carrying on. I know we've been here now for almost 1.5 hours. It's quite a long time. But if you don't mind, I can carry on and do a few more examples to help you design better looking graphics. So if you're okay for me to carry on, let me know in the comments box by just saying yes. If you're tired or you really have to go, just let me know, and then we can always continue this maybe in a separate show. So let me know if you want me to carry on and give you all these design tips. Okay. Faith here on Facebook says, first time I stumbled upon this. Really? Yes, you know what? Faith. Oh, I said Faith. Sorry about that. It's Fatih, I think. Fatih. Sorry about that. So anyway, you know what? Make sure you subscribe by going to YouTube. In fact, YouTube is better at notification, to be honest. So go to YouTube, my YouTube channel, and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so when I go live again, you'll get notified. Okay? Right. So let's see the response here. So I can see here people saying, yes, more. Please go on. Yes, please. Awesome. Okay. I'll carry on. Right. So let's continue. So I'm going to switch over here to the site. So this is the first example here where I have the border and on a dark background. But let's say we want to change this and let's use a lighter color. Okay. So I'm just going to duplicate this to save me time. So I'm going to delete this one here and duplicate this. And by the way, this is actually pretty cool because it saves you time to go in and, create, different designs. So I'm just going to come over here and change that icon in there just to make the design look sleek. There we go. Right. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do the reverse of what I've just done here. So everything here is on a dark background. So I'm going to duplicate this, and this time I'm going to do the same sort of design, but this time on a lighter background. So let's choose a background color. So I'm going to come over here, go to background, and I'm just going to choose a really light gray like that. So don't be afraid to use grays. In fact, you know what? If you want to separate your text, the one easy way is to just use a really slight gray on your background. So now you can see I have gray here on the top, and on the bottom here I have white. In fact, once I exit out of this, I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so I've got a really slight gray here. So my text now, you can see it's not as easy to read as it was here on this section. So let's fix that. So I'm going to come over here and just change my text. So first of all, I'm going to go into my text, change my color, and this time I'm going to choose a darker gray. In fact, that's very close to black. Let's use this one here. Okay. So again, you don't want to be too extreme by going black. Sometimes you can choose a really light gray or a really slightly darker gray. So you don't want to go like black or white. You can use colors in between. So this is the beauty of the color palettes that we're using here. So I'm going to switch back over here and let's go ahead and make changes now to our body text. So here in the body text, again, I'm going to come over here and choose a dark gray. So this time I'm going to go with this. So you can see here it's very subtle. It's not too much. It's really, really subtle. So now that I have this, so I'm going to copy my text color here save this, and then I'm going to come over here into my blurb, and let me paste my color over here. So you see, I've just saved myself a lot of time by just doing that. And then I can do the same here as well. I'm going to paste my color. So I found that these shortcuts actually save me a lot of time. So paste text color, there we go. And then I want to also copy my color here on the top. In fact, let's do something different. So I've used color here. So let's say on my titles here, I need to use a different color. So let's go ahead and do that and add a bit more color and excitement to this. So I'm going to come over here on this little icon and choose my color. So the color I'm going to choose here is, let me go with, let's see what I'm going to go with here. Right, so let's go with a lighter gray. Okay, like that. And I'm just going to copy this color as well and add it over here. In fact, I don't even need to keep adding it over here back and forth. That's wasting time. Okay, let's go in now and let's add color to our icon. So I'm going to come over here, click on design, image and icon. So now we want to change our icon color. So this time I'm going to choose this color right here. Okay. So again, you can see that just by adding my color, and let me go to my icon color as well. And let's see what color I can change this to. Okay, so that doesn't work. Now, the reason why that doesn't work is the colors are too close together in contrast. Okay, so you want to use a lighter color. So let's go with this one. So that one works really, really well. Okay, so I would go with that. And already my icon and my text really works well together. In fact, I can even come into this title here and choose my recently used colors and go with this as my title. So that actually works. Now that I have this in place, I'm going to come over here and work on my borders. So let's go to modified styles. Right, so over here now on my borders, for our border color, instead of using a dark color like that, I am going to choose a lighter color. So you can see that this color actually works. I think it's fantastic. And but if you want this to match what we have here on the icon circle, I can choose this color right here. But you can see it's a bit too much. But the beauty of this is you can actually go into the color here and drag this transparency slider down until you have it really nice and subtle. Okay, so this is how you use these colors. Okay, so I've dragged it all the way down here because I don't want this to be like really in my face. So now I've made it really subtle. I can even go even further down like that. So now this looks much, much better. Okay, so I'm going to delete this one here because I want to save my time and just duplicate this one. So I can copy and paste it over just like that. And then I can go into this icon here and change that particular icon into something different. Okay, so let's do that. So let's say I'm going to go with maybe this calendar here. Okay, so that's it. That area now has been changed. So this is the dark version over here, and this is the lighter version over there. Great. So this is, if you have any questions, please do add your questions in the comments box and I'll do my best to respond to them. So I'm just going to publish this page here so that I can expand this page so that I can zoom in so you can see what is happening on this page. So I'm just going to exit the builder now. Okay. So here's my dark version. Here's my lighter version. Okay. Right. So let's take a look here if we have any questions. I can't pronounce his name, but sorry about that. But I can. The question is, in my site, the settings box on the Visual Builder does not appear on the left side of the screen. Why? Okay, you can actually decide where you want your settings box to be, and I'll show you quickly. In fact, you're going to be so amazed and shocked by how easy this is. So let me show you quickly how you can fix that problem. Right, so I'm going to enter my Visual Builder here. Right, so over here, you see these three little dots here on the bottom. In fact, let me expand this. So this is filling the whole screen. So you see these little dots here on the bottom here, right? So what you want to do is to click and drag it wherever you want. So right now I'm dragging it over here to the right. So if I click here, you can see now that this is now on my right. So that's the first thing you can do. So I prefer this to be on the bottom. Now, let's say I want to have my settings panel here on a different side. So first of all, you can separate the modal by clicking this button here. Okay, so now I can move it around. So I can bring it over here like that. So now it's on the right. So you can go ahead now and continue designing your page with this now on the right. So you can pretty much drag this and have it wherever you want. Okay, you can also have it nice and wide like that. But of course, that doesn't really work because it covers most of your screen. But that's it. That is how you actually use this. Okay, so I prefer snapping mine to the left. So that's how I prefer working with this. So I hope that works. I mean, that helps. Right. Kalal says, yes, please continue. I'm gathering lots of info for free. Awesome. Tobias, would it be right to post a link to a site for review? Yes, absolutely. I mean, you can send your websites for reviews. The link is in the description below where it says submit website for review below this video. So you can go ahead and do that. Rito says, is there a standard font size for various viewport sizes? No, there isn't a standard font size, but what you can do is you can test it yourself because each font is different. Sometimes if you use, let's say, Lato, if you use it small, it's not the same size as Helvetica. So this is where you want to go in and really look at what font it is and which one works for which viewport. Website submitted. Okay, great. Awesome. Great. So let me show you another trick that you can do. And this is something that I also noticed people make a mistake of when they design their websites. Okay, so this is to do with images. So I'm going to come over here. Let's take a look. Okay, let me save this. Right, so what I'm going to do here is let me delete this image here. Okay, so I'm going to start on a brand new section. So let me add a new section here. Oops, here we go. So let me add a brand new section. So I'm going to click this plus button. This is going to be a regular section. So I'm just going to click on regular. And then I'm going to drag this section here to the top. So what I notice a lot of people do is when they design their websites, when it comes to using background images, they use these images in a way which can sometimes make it difficult to read the text on the actual section. So the way around this is to add an image and then customize that image. And all these tools are within Divi. So it's a matter of finding out where these tools are and making use of them. Okay. And also, by the way, if you want to take your design skills or your design your design skills to the next level, I have a course called Divi Blueprint 3. It has a 50% discount right now as we speak. The link to that is in the description below. Now, if you sign up for this course, I'll be doing a lot of tutorials. In fact, the reason why I'm doing these reviews is to gather the most common problems that that I find on websites, and then use this information to create my course. So I'll be covering most of these things that I find people are really making a mistake on. So this is going to be the updated version of Divi Blueprint 3. So if you buy this course now, you automatically get the Divi Blueprint 3 or Blueprint 4 absolutely free. And this course is going to cost about $497 because I'm going to put so much into it that it's going to be mind-blowing. So if you get this course now, you automatically get upgraded to the new course. So I would take advantage of that. Okay, I talk too much. Let me start designing. So let's say you want to add an image to this section right here, okay? So you'd come over here, background, and let's add not background color. Let's add an image, okay? I'm gonna click this plus button. So what image should I add? So let's say I add this image of this lady, upload an image, and there we go. So right there. So what you saw in the beginning of my review today is designers actually create a section where they're cutting off the eyes or the nose and just leaving the lips. So this is the problem. So if I just leave my image like this, that's the problem I would have, okay? So let me show you how we can fix this. So far I've added my image. Now I want to add a call to action, okay? So I'm going to add a single column, and let me add a call to action here. Like that. Right, so of course I need to customize this because when I have an image like this, I don't like going in and adding a background color to this area here because I think this looks really nice. So what I would do here is, in fact, let me first add my button. So I'm just going to add a blank link here so my button shows. And then this background here, I need to remove this background color. Now, if we take a look at this, you can see it's very difficult to read what we have there on the screen because of my image. So one way to really take care of this problem is to make this image here a bit dark. Okay, so I hope everyone is following me. So I'm just going to make sure I just check here and make sure everything's all right. Okay, great. Right. So if you have any questions or if you're not sure about the steps that I've taken in this in my demo, please let me know in the comments box so I can go ahead and fix that. Okay. So I hope everyone is on the same page with me on this one. So I'm going to switch back over here to my design. So as I was saying, this is quite difficult to read because of my background image. Okay. So before I go in and start fixing my background image, I want to come in here and reduce the width because the width of my text here is way too much. You can see here it's spanning a very wide sort of area, right? So I want this nice and small so it's easier to read, okay? So to do that, I'm going to come over here to my module settings, click on design, sizing, and then I can reduce my width. You can see here as I'm reducing this, it's making it easier now for me to add my call to action, okay? Now, I can have this aligned to the left if I wanted to or aligned center, okay? So either works fine, okay? Now that I have that all centered, I'm gonna go ahead now and save. So let's fix what is happening here. So we want to show more of this background image. So how do we do that? So first of all, we can always come here into my row settings. And then I'm going to search for margin. Okay, so I'm going to add a top and bottom margin. So let's use percentages for this. So let's say 10%. Okay, now all of a sudden, we can now see most of our image. Okay, and this is great because we want to make sure we're not cutting the eyes or cutting the nose of our image. Okay, and the one thing that you also may want to do here is to go into this little icon here to make sure everything looks right on the tablet and the smartphone. So now I'm on the tablet. We can see here we still see the full image. That's fine. On the smartphone, again, we still see the full image. So that is great. So I'm really happy with this 10% that I've added here. Great. Now I'm going to go ahead and save. Right. So now we have our image. Everything looks great. So how do we adjust this image so it's not too bright, so that our text here is easier to read? So I'm going to go back over here to my section settings. I'm going to click on background. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to choose background. No, in fact, I'm going to choose a gradient here. So I'm going to click this plus button here to add my gradient. So the colors I'm going to use are, let's use black. And yeah, in fact, let's use black. And for this one here, I am going to use a gradient like that. Now, of course, we can't see this happening on our image. So how do we do that? There's a little button right here which says place gradient above image. Okay, if we do that straight away, now our gradient is above the image. And now we can see that it's now easier to read. Now, we can also do further adjustments here. So right now it's set at minus 180 degrees. So I can actually go in and make this 90 degrees, for example. So now we can see that this image here is not as bright. And at the same time, my text is now easier to read. So if I do a before and after, before, after, we can see here that it's now much easier to read. You can also play around with this and maybe make the gradient come from the bottom going up if you wanted to. And we can also reduce the intensity of that color by just dragging this down a little bit. Okay, just like that. Okay, so let's do another before and after. So before, after, before, after. Okay, so I hope this answers the question of actually not being able to add your text above an image the right way. So this is the correct way of doing it. It's all about contrast. It's all about making things easier to read, because the point of a website, to be honest, is that you communicate the message loud and clear. And in this case, loud and clear means your text is easy to read when someone gets to your page. Right. So another way I can do this. So let's say we really want this this lady here's face to be visible, right? Because right now it's being distracted by the text. So the one way around this is to actually go in here into the column structure and add 2 columns. So now I have 2. If I mouse over here, you can see that now my text is moved over here to the left. So let's play around with some adjustments here and design this even in a better way. So if I come over here to my row settings and come over here to design sizing, now let's make our row slightly bigger. Okay, so I'm going to use custom width. I'm going to use percentage, and I would even increase this to about, say, 90%. Okay, great. So that's at 90%. Save that. So now my text is over here to the left. So I'm leaving now space for this lady here to be not distracted by my text. So we can see here that my text is a bit too small. So I may go in and adjust this. Okay, so I'm going to go into my description text here. So my body text size is 14. I'm going to increase this to about 20. But here's the thing. When you increase your size, you also want to make sure that your line height here is adjusted as well, because you want to make sure that things are easier to read. And then over here on the body weight, let's choose light. Okay, so now we can see that this is much, much better and easier to read. So now that we've chosen light, what we could also do is, in fact, the size is a bit too much. Let's reduce this a bit. Okay, 18, I think. Okay, 18 is fine. Right, so what I need to do as well is we adjusted the sizing before. I want to go in and adjust my width here. So I'm going to add a bit more. So let's say 70%. Okay, I think 70% is fine. And I can align this to the left if I wanted to, but I think this is fine. Okay, and now I'm going to save. So now you see our text and our call to action is now on the left side. Now, is this, I mean, would you agree with me and say that this is much better now in terms of letting the lady's face show, and also letting the text on the left side not distract the main image? I mean, you're free to critique this design as well if you want to. So it's okay if you want to critique this design, or give me your thoughts as well. Right, so I'm going to take a look here and Kalal says, are you going to post this webcast on YouTube so that we can go back and view it? Yes, I am going to do that. I'll leave this on YouTube. So you can go back and watch it. But I think once I've created the new show format, I want to make this exclusive to those of you that come to my live shows, so you can actually watch it on diviuniversity.com. So I want to give a bit more credit to those of you that come to this show. So those that don't come to the live show, they would have to miss out on that. So this is the last one I would leave live on the website. So the rest of them, if anyone wants to watch it, like for example, in your case, everyone right now watching this, you can always watch this. But in the future, I'll be taking these off because I believe that there's a lot of value that a lot of you are benefiting from this. And you are also investing a lot of time and effort to pitch up to this live stream and spend an hour with me, or even an hour and a half watching me do this. So those that don't pitch up for this, they're going to lose out. Right. Let's take a look here. Mark says, place the dark side only on the left. You know what? I'm glad you pointed that out, because I actually left this intentionally to see if you could pick it out. So that is actually the next thing I'm going to do now. So thank you very much for that. So definitely you want to put the dark side to the left because there's nothing there. Why have the dark side covering the lady? Or in fact, I'm on the wrong screen here. Sorry about that. So why have the dark covering the lady? There's no point in doing that. Okay, so that's well pointed out, Mark. Great, great, great. Thank you for that. So now I'm going to go back into my background, and I am going to change now the direction of my gradient. So I'm going to make this 90 degrees. So that's the easiest way to do it. Okay, 90 degrees. Okay, so now the dark side is now to the left, but I'm not done yet because we still want this to show. So what I'm going to do, let me go back to my background here. Right, so there's a lot of color. I mean, there's a lot of gray here. So what I could actually do is to reduce this all the way down. Do you see how that is much, much better now? Right? Let's do a before and after. So before, after. Before, after. Okay? So I think that that looks much, much better with this, with a subtle gradient here on the left side. So again, one more time, before, after, before, after. So if you feel that this is a bit too much, you can always go in again here and play around with these sliders. We can reduce this again slightly like that. And let's do a before and after, before, after, before, after. So I think that's subtle enough, and I think that works. So that's great. So now if you want to go in and make some adjustments to your text or your buttons, you can always go in and do that. But this is how you actually treat images on your website. Now, let's do the opposite. What if your image is, what if the content on your page it has dark text and the image that you want to use is, has a darker background, a lighter background, and you still want to use the image? Let me show you how to do that. But before I do that, I just want to make sure there's no questions here. Monique says, agreed, it is very helpful. Awesome. Brenda, this live stream here and the ones that I've done before, those are going to stay on pretty much forever. So, those are fine. In fact, I would say the next couple of live streams as well, I'll just pretty much leave them on there for anyone who wants to go in and watch. But I'll be making some special live streams for members only, because I think this will bring benefits to those of you that buy Divi Blueprint 3 and want to benefit more. So that's something that I'm still debating with myself. So this may be special live streams that I'll do, on diviuniversity.com. But these ones here are going to be out there. So don't worry about me pulling them off. They're always going to be there. So I'll leave them up there. So I hope that answers that, Brenda. Right, so let's do another example here, and let me show you how we can make adjustments to this. Right, so I'm going to switch over here to my site. Okay, so let's say we want to do the opposite of this. Let's add, in fact, we can just duplicate this, save me time. So this time I'm going to use a different image. So I'm going to go here into my background section and let's change this image here. This time, let's say this is, let me find an image. Hopefully I can find an image which I can just grab here from my library. Okay, let's try this one here. No, it's a bit too small. Right. Okay, let's go with this one here. Okay, so we have this image here of this this machinery. Okay, so let's pretend that we're building a website which is to do with construction or road construction or whatever it is. But the point here is the design technique. Okay, so let's not focus on the text I'm going to use. It's just the design technique. So again, as you can see here, my text, or let's say our text needs to be dark. Okay, so let's fix that. So I'm going to come over here to my text module and I'm going to go into design, text, change this from light to dark. So if I change this light from light to dark, you can see that we can't read this text. So how do we solve this? So let me show you. So what you want to do is to come over here into your section settings, click on background, and I'm going to come over here on my gradients one more time. But this time, instead of using dark colors, I want to use light colors. So I'm going to use white and white for this. So the more I drag this slider up, we can see here that it's making my image really light. I'll do the same here, like that. We can, in fact, instead of using this, we can actually delete this, right? And use a solid color. So I'm going to come over here, add a background color, like that. And then on this image here, if we choose blending mode, we can choose multiply. Has that worked? Okay, let's go back over here. Okay, so that's not working. So, okay, we leave that. Okay, let's come over here to the gradient. Back over here to the gradient. Right, so let's choose a white color here. So I'm going to choose white for this. And white for that. And then this color here, we're going to delete it. Okay. So now that we have this, something happened here. Let me close this. And then go back in. I think I pressed too many buttons there and things got messed up. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here into my gradient. And I'm going to choose a really light color here. And I'm going to do the same for the second color. Okay, so if I drag this slider up, we can see that it's getting lighter and lighter here on my color. Okay, and the same thing applies here. It's getting lighter and lighter. So you can see here that it's very subtle. It's very subtle here, but now my text is now easier to read. Okay, so I'm just going to save this so that you can see this clearly. Okay, so this section here of this big machine is now very light in the background, and now my text is easier to read. So pretty much this is the opposite of this. So here we have light text, here we have dark text, and this is how we treat the images. Okay, so this is how you want to make your designs look really, really professional. So let's say you want to add a video over here. Oh, that's not how you spell video. Come on now. Am I getting tired? Right, there we go. So that's our video right there. And for our video now, what makes it even better is you go to the overlay, click this plus button here, and let's choose this truck here as our overlay image. Okay, I'm going to click upload an image. There we go. So now, just by doing this subtle change, you can see this has actually transformed this page. And notice that I haven't used drop shadows. I haven't used any of that. So just by doing these subtle changes, it's making this section already look really, really professional. So I'm going to come back over here because I can see that my width is way too much. So I'm going to reduce that by coming here to design, sizing. So let me bring this down to about, let's say 74%. Okay. Great. So that looks much better now. And over here, I'm going to go into this call to action module. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this text. It's a bit too thin now. So I just want this normal. Okay. So these are the sort of changes that you can now add to make this really, really stand out. Okay. So now I've fixed that. And also, and these are the sort of like tweaks you can go in now and start adding. So I can see here that my button here does not really stand out. In fact, with the colors, it's not working well. So I can go in now and make changes to this button. So I'm going to come over here, use custom styles for button. Yes. And I'm going to add a background color to this. So let's say my text color needs to be white, and my button background color, what should we go with here? Let's see if this works. Yeah, that could work. This green could work as well. Okay, I'll go with this red. Okay. And the button border radius, it's fine. And border width, I don't need that. So I'm going to get rid of the width. So you can see now, just by changing that, my button now looks really, really cool. Okay, so there's also one thing that you could do here. If you come over here to the text, in fact, let's look for alignment. Text orientation. So I can do a left. I can do text orientation left over here. So now everything is pretty much like that. save that. Okay, now if this width is a bit too much, again, I can always go in and change that. So I'm going to come back over here to my design, sizing, and maybe make this even 70%. Okay, like that. And let me just make sure there's no padding. So I can see here, okay, the percentage is fine. So one thing I may want to look at here is the gutter width as well. So I'm going to search for it. Reduce that to about 2 and even 1. Take a look at that. That's even better. Okay, now it's tighter and this is definitely much better. So you can see here that in the background here, I have this image of this machine, but my text is easier to read and my video here also has this image. So you can see it's like a repeat of this background here and also the use of this image in the actual video image overlay. So I think that's great. So these are the two versions here. We have the light version here. We have the dark version here. Okay. So that is how you use images in your design. So tell me, what do you think about the use of these images? In fact, I'm going to take a quick look here at my comments and see what is happening. Right. Monique says that course has been very helpful. Yes, thank you very much for that review, and I'm glad that you found the Divi Blueprint 3 course helpful. And you know what? I'm going to make this even more amazing. I'm going to add way more content onto this, especially with the features that Divi released. I'm going to be adding quite a lot to that course. Okay. Safran says, I've learned Divi with your tutorials. You're a real master. I submitted my website, which I designed from a company. Okay, awesome. If you submitted your website for review, that is great. I will be reviewing it now on Wednesday at 6 a.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. UK time. This image and overlay text needs to be a module in the course. Definitely, Monique, I agree with you. I think there's quite a lot of things that I could add to the course. But since you've already bought the course, you're going to greatly benefit from the updated version. So the reason why I haven't sort of like gone in and designed the course is mainly because we are waiting for WordPress Gutenberg, which is WordPress 5.0. So they're making a major update. I'm sure if you haven't heard, they're going to be updating the editor. So this editor here is going to be a shift from how WordPress was working before. So this shift is affecting page builders as well. So I don't want to be in a situation where I create the course right now and then later on the interface now changes because there won't be anything to relate to because things will be different. So I'm just waiting for that time where WordPress 5.0 is now like out there and it's now working well with Divi for me to continue. But of course, it's going to work greatly with Divi. So that's going to be a positive. We've seen an update 2 weeks ago, which Divi now integrates very well with the first demo of WordPress Gutenberg. So I'm just waiting for this to be official. And then once it's official, you are going to be seeing a lot of tutorials on how to design awesome looking websites. I mean, it's my passion. I really love this. It has changed my life and I would like to change your lives too. So I'm really waiting for that. To be honest, I'm also slightly getting frustrated with the fact that it hasn't been released yet, but I'm just keeping an eye on that and making sure that this will be released soon. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Let's take a look here and see. If you haven't submitted your websites yet for review, don't be scared. The link is in the description below. So go ahead and do that. And I'll be sure to review your website. All right. I think, how long has this stream been running now? Wow. Almost over 2 hours. Awesome. I mean, you can see how these live streams can be really exciting. And also, the viewers, I really appreciate your time. So this is really, really cool. So I'll do this again in my next live stream. I will also add a few design tips here and there just to help you design your websites. So this episode is made possible by divicake.com. Check out the huge selection of Divi themes, layouts, and plugins. The link is in the description below. All right, so if you want to watch this live stream again, this will be on the YouTube channel or on Divi University Facebook page. So go ahead and watch it on there. Right, so to be honest, I'm a bit tired now. So I'm going to wrap this up and say for everyone that watched this live stream, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate your time joining me while I do this live stream. You keep me entertained, and do submit your websites for reviews so we can continue with this series. I've got a lot more content coming up. And in fact, before I go, just so you know, I am now going to change the domain name, WP User TV. I want to make this, I want to change this website to something a bit more appealing to those of you that have websites. And just to let you know, the idea here is to help you make money with your website. Okay. So what I'll be covering in these upcoming tutorials is how to build a mailing list, is pretty much the marketing online. Because sometimes when you design a website, you can be happy with, oh, wow, I've designed my website. But the thing is, you actually have even more potential with this website. You can actually get more people to view your website, subscribe to your website. Maybe if you're a writer, if you're a podcaster, or you create tutorials, I'll be sharing with you tips on how to make revenue from your website. So these are various ways that I'm going to share with you that I've learned throughout as many years of design and running my own agencies. So I want to expand and show you all these techniques. But it doesn't mean that I won't be covering web design tutorials. I will be covering web design tutorials, but I'm just extending to also helping you make money with your own website, sharing the tools, how you apply these tools onto your websites, and so on. So this website is going to be called Marketing with Mac. So I'm just going to shift everything from WP User TV to marketingwithmac.com. So that's going to be the domain name. So that's the change that's going to come. So don't be shocked when you get to the website and it's not WP User TV anymore. Now, Divi University, that's going to stay as it is. That's fine. I'll be adding, courses that relate to Divi on that website. So that should be fine. Okay. Chris says, what about the toolset series you have started? Yes, the toolset series is going to come. Again, this is advanced web design techniques. I'm really excited to put this together. I'm just waiting for one more training session with the company, Toolset. So once I do that one more session, I'll be in a position to now be comfortable to create tutorials with it, because there's a bit of a learning curve. But when I do this course, it's going to be quite straightforward for you to follow along. So thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend, and join me again on Wednesday at 6 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Eastern, okay? Not 6 a.m. Eastern. It's 6 a.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. UK time. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.